Warrack here and welcome to day 5, I believe, of my Secret Santa 2014 custom project. And of course I'm making Shredder. Yesterday was a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I tried to dye a figure and the dye didn't take and the figure warped because of the hot water, and I had to pretty much start over again on some aspects of it, but feeling a bit more positive today. Going to be trying to make some progress as far as actually making that base body start to look like Shredder. I'm going to be starting, again going back to my design, I'm going to be focusing on this area, which I believe is anatomically called his sexy bits. I'm going to be working on getting the belt and the cloth hanging down around his upper legs, and I'm going to be using fabric to do that, much in the same way I did with my Doctor Doom figure, so that his legs could still articulate fully. In actual production toys they would use a soft rubber, but I don't have access to a lot of resources to make that kind of thing, so it's cloth I'm going to be using. So here's my base figure. I've sanded down a lot of it around this crotch area, and I'm going to be attaching the fabric around here, and then it will hang down over his legs, and then hopefully the cloth will allow him to articulate. I've actually sanded a lot of the bits that I think would suffer from paint rub around here, which is the bits I wanted to dye, and I've gone in with a red Sharpie over the sanded areas, and the plastic, because it's now sanded, seems to take that red Sharpie quite well, so maybe that's a solution for the future. I've done it again here on his knees, see that? I've gone in with sandpaper in there and a bit of a Dremel, and then just coloured it in with red Sharpie, so hopefully there won't be any paint rub there. I'm not sure if that's going to work again. I'm just sick of paint rub. I can't be bothered sanding it down all the time. I'm looking for shortcuts, and as you saw yesterday they're not really working, but we'll see how this one goes. So let's get started with the fabric sexy bits. Okay, so there he is, looking like a lovely waitress. Not much greatness to look at the moment. It's all going to be in the paint and everything at the final stage. Just does look like he's wearing a miniskirt. Now, so what I was doing there was attaching the cloth. So there's essentially 3 pieces. There's the skirt piece wrapping around underneath the front tabard and the back one as well. And so it's really messy up the top with super glue holding it in place. That's because I'm going to put a wraparound of styrene plastic around it to cover that up, and then sculpt on top of the styrene his belt, so that'll all be covered up. So that's that basic part done. What I'm going to do once I get that belt in place is then remove it all, and it should keep its shape mostly because the super glue is sort of sculpting the material, and then I'll reattach it when I'm ready to finish off all the sculpting and assemble the figure finally. I used the super glue to make some pinches on the material, fix them in place, and it's just to create these folds because you have to get that cell shaded look, and that's what I'm kind of trying to anticipate here, so that when I go to finally paint it there's going to be some of those folds that I can add in the depth and the highlights too. Yeah, that's Shredder's sexy miniskirt done, and we'll go on with the rest of him. I think we'll start, well, I said I was going to do the belt, and then I'm going to start sculpting the top part of him. So I'm not going to go too much into sculpting because I've shown that in enough previous videos, but I'm using Milliput Superfine White and Black, and that is so that I can get a differentiation between the costume and the armour when I sculpt, so that I can get a good idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished. So as you can see from the time lapse, I tried to spend an hour or so every night that I could sculpting, sanding and shaping the epoxy putty till I finally got Shredder to this point that he is here, where he's starting to look a bit like Shredder. I've started using the flosser tips on his shoulders and arms here for the blades. You can see I attach them at the right angle, and then once the super glue is set and everything, I go in and start to shape it with my knife and some epoxy to get that smooth curve that they have in the comic. I do a lot of post sculpting work, and when I said that I meant I took my knife after I had cured the epoxy, smoothed it off, used a lot of sandpaper and shaped it, which is how I can get quite exact shapes, particularly there on his lower legs. So that's me scoring my knife along the side. You know, once the epoxy is cured, I just take the blade of my knife and I drag it along, and it just smoothing the edges out so that it gives this nice finish to it. And a lot of sanding with sandpaper just to get it looking good, ready for painting. You know, I have to duplicate the blades on each side and do his feet, also do the bandings on his lower legs that I've done here, and then he'll be ready for painting. So I guess that's my next thing, is to get him painted up. But here's a photo of the finished sculpting thing. So I'll see you all tomorrow for some painting action. Bye.